Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 1. For all this I laid to my heart, even to explore all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. Whether it is love or hatred, man doesn't know it. All is before them. I want you to pay attention to the last statement. It says all is before them. There are some things people do that they have not realized it is wrong, and the things that were supposed to be love are turned into hatred without them knowing. There are some things people do not pay attention to, and because they have given room to it to continually happen, the love that was before them was turned into hatred. And we need to be careful about this. We know without a doubt that these things are in the hand of God, but there are some things that wisdom should tell you. There are people who truly have loved you from the start. There are people who truly gave you their very best. They gave you their very all. They did everything because they wanted to be with you. But literally, you threw their love to the swine for it to be trampled upon. And it didn't take so long, everything had turned around. The things that has love in it, as long as it has man involved in it, can turn into hatred. And dear child of God, this is what I want you to understand. Those people who love you and love you truly can suddenly hate you, and you may be the one that they hate the most, and you cannot understand why this is happening. This is the mistake you have been making. Do not take people for granted. Because that man loves you, because he's doing everything to provide for you, because he's doing everything to see to it that you are in his life, and you started taking him for granted. You got so used to this person that you were loosed with your words, and things started going wrong for you. That is because that person who loves you have a time he will not be able to bear some things again, and the love he or she has for you will turn into hatred. There are people who are calling you, and because you feel that you have this right over their life, you start ignoring their calls a lot until they walked away from you, until you were left on your own, and then you realize that that same place there initially was love. Hatred can come there because this person reverence you and have you in their life as their all in all. Doesn't mean that you should take them for granted. There is a way you shouldn't speak to your man in the public. Because he has allowed you into his space doesn't mean before your friends you should address him without respect. Because there is something men has in them that wants to command that respect, that prestige, that dignity. And when they see somebody else is trampling it, many times it doesn't matter how much they love you. It doesn't matter all the things you think you're carrying in your body. They may walk away from you. And by the time they walk away from you, you may start regretting it. There are some things you should be very conscious of, and you should be wise not to do them. You should allow God to help you to know how to be conscious with the things that you do. Somebody had always been there to buy you gifts, to do everything she could do in your life, and you started taking it for granted, thinking she was cheap. She was concerned about everything that has to do with your life, and you began taking it for granted. Dear child of God, trust me, it will get to a point that person may stop, and then you will realize that you have taken them for granted enough until they walked away to somebody else who would appreciate it. Somebody is calling you and wants to talk to you very often. Do not start acting busy all the time. It will come to a point that they will stop calling you. That love may turn into hatred. And you will start looking for that call. You'll be craving to receive that call, and the call would never come true. Don't take people's call for granted, especially when they have expressed their life to you to a certain degree. When people start showing love to you, they start becoming vulnerable, but don't trample on that vulnerability. When people start expressing their affection for you, at that moment on, be it a man or a woman, they become a bit vulnerable, but do not trample upon it. When you see calls, as quick as possible, as much as you can. You may be busy, you may be occupied, but return it. Don't ignore some messages and after a week you tend to return those messages. Dear child of God, it will come to a point in time that person would stop messaging you, and all of a sudden you will look for that person to come around your life, but the love initially that person had for you had turned into hatred. God's word said, whether it is love or hatred, man doesn't know it. All is before them. All is before them, and man do not know it. So all of a sudden, what they thought was love can suddenly turn into hatred. So you should be careful what you do to some people. You should be careful on how you act to some people, because the brother loves you, because the sister loves you, doesn't mean you should tread upon their intelligence. Doesn't mean you should act in a way that is unjustifiable. Dear child of God, that person will stop. Do not use some name calling to some people, especially who have given their heart to you. Even when you are offended, find a way to be careful, because that lady you are using those words and those names may start looking at you like somebody who they don't think they will be with. And by the time you realize, they would walk away. Now you want to change. You want to stop all the name callings, but they have gone because they cannot trust you anymore, because they feel insecure to be with you. Dear child of God, you need to be careful what you do. That love can easily turn to hatred, and this is what many people do not understand, especially in the body of Christ. Don't make that sister that loves you so much always feel like the less spiritual one. It will come to a point in time you would stop studying the Bible, you will stop praying at that time, and will want to just converse with the person, and that sister will not be found to converse with you. So you need to be wise and do things in a very excellent way. You need to find a way to get a balance in all that you do, dear child of God. There are some things that are very permissible, but there are some things at the same time that should be very avoided. They should be absolutely avoided, because it will come to a time, trust me, you will need it, but it will not be there again, because that love the person had for you had turned into hatred. Sometimes a person calls you and say, let's see this movie together. As long as there is nothing wrong with that movie, don't act all busy and say I cannot see a movie. Don't act all spiritual and say I don't see movie. Even if movie is not your thing, see a bit of it. This person will know that there is a part of their life that is with you. This person will start realizing he or she has a love and admiration for me. He or she is concerned about the things I love. So these things are very important that you should know. Find a way to get a balance. This love may suddenly turn into hatred. Somebody wants to make FaceTime with you. Permit it for some time. It is not your thing, yes, but if you truly know that this person is somebody you don't want to lose, find a way to strike a balance, else you may end up regretting something. So people that are close to you, do not take them for granted, because that love can suddenly turn into hatred. It is before them, and unconsciously they may start acting up, and you may not understand why they are acting up. It is because they have reached their elastic limit. So you should know what has been laid in your heart. Do everything as much as possible to explore it, and do not take people for granted, because that guy loves you, because that lady loves you, doesn't mean you should act in a very disrespectful manner to them continually. It will come to a time they would walk away so far, and you would regret allowing them to walk away from you. I pray God would help you to learn this wisdom and do what is right, because what was initially love can suddenly turn into hatred, and you don't want that in your life. You don't want to lose the person that you thought you should have in your life forever. You don't want that brother to walk away from you. You don't want that sister to walk away from you into the hands of somebody who would cherish them and love them and respect them for who they are. And then you want them in your life and it was already too late. Dear child of God, let's be wise so the love will not turn to hatred. It is well with you, beloved. God bless you, and shalom.